When you switch to first-person view, you can actually see the dashboard, steering wheel, gauges, and other interior details inside the vehicle. Of course, it's not as detailed as a hardcore PC driving simulator, but for a mobile game, the interiors look surprisingly good. I especially like driving from the cockpit view because it makes the off-road experience feel more immersive and realistic. When you're climbing steep hills or driving through rough terrain, being inside the vehicle gives you a much better sense of speed and control. It's a small detail, but it definitely adds to the overall driving experience. Honestly, Off the Road 2 surprised me quite a bit. For a mobile game, the graphics look much better than I expected. The environments feel large and detailed, with forests, mountains, rivers, mud roads, and open landscapes that make the world feel alive. One thing I really like is the lighting. When the sunlight hits the vehicles or reflects off the water, the game can look surprisingly realistic, especially on high graphics settings. The vehicles themselves are also well designed. You can clearly see the details on trucks, SUVs, and other off-road vehicles, and the suspension movement looks smooth while driving over rough terrain. Another impressive part is the terrain physics. Mud, rocks, hills, and water don't just look good, they actually affect how your vehicle moves, making the driving experience feel more realistic. Of course, if you push the graphics settings to the maximum, the game looks fantastic. But on some phones, especially during longer play sessions, you might notice higher temperatures and increased battery usage. Still, considering that this is a mobile game, Off the Road 2 delivers some of the best graphics I've seen in the off-road driving genre. It's definitely a game that looks even better when played on a powerful device. For me, this is actually one of the strongest parts of Off the Road 2. The vehicles don't feel too light or too arcade-like. Instead, each vehicle has a bit of weight to it, which makes driving feel more realistic. When you're climbing steep hills, crossing rivers, or driving through mud, you can actually feel the vehicles struggling against the terrain. I also like how the suspension reacts to bumps and rough roads. The vehicle moves naturally instead of feeling stiff, which makes off-road driving much more enjoyable. Another thing I noticed is that every terrain feels different. Driving on a dirt road feels smooth, but once you enter muddy areas or rocky trails, you have to be much more careful with your speed and steering. Because of that, the game isn't just about pressing the accelerator. You actually need to pay attention to the road and choose the right path. Overall, the driving feels satisfying, immersive, and surprisingly realistic for a mobile game. If you're someone who enjoys off-road adventures and realistic vehicle physics, Off the Road 2 delivers a very enjoyable driving experience.
Let's talk about the damage system. One feature that really caught my attention is the vehicle damage. When you crash into rocks, trees, or other obstacles at high speed, the vehicle doesn't just stop and continue like nothing happened. Instead, you can actually see visible damage appearing on different parts of the vehicle. The body panels become dented, the front bumper can get damaged, and after a serious crash, the vehicle starts to look like it has really been through a tough off-road adventure. I like this feature because it makes you think more carefully about how you drive. You can't just drive at full speed everywhere and expect everything to be fine. The damage system adds a sense of realism and makes every mistake feel more meaningful. It's not the most advanced damage model you'll ever see, but for a mobile off-road game, it's detailed enough to make crashes feel impactful and satisfying. Overall, the damage effects help make the world feel more believable and add another layer of immersion to the driving experience. Let's talk about the damage system. Another thing that impressed me is the water effects. For a mobile game, the water looks surprisingly good, especially on higher graphics settings. Rivers, lakes, and coastal areas all have realistic reflections and smooth water animations that make the environment feel much more alive. What I really like is that water isn't just there for visual effects. When you drive into deep water, you can actually feel the impact on your vehicle's movement. The engine struggles more, the vehicle slows down, and crossing a river becomes becomes a challenge instead of just driving straight through. Sometimes you even need to carefully choose the best route to avoid getting stuck. Combined with the game's physics system, the water adds another layer of realism to the off-road experience. It's a small detail, but it helps make exploration more fun and immersive. Overall, the water effects look great, interact well with the environment, and make Off-the-Road 2 feel much more realistic than many other mobile driving games. One of the most satisfying moments in Off-the-Road 2 happens when you lose control on a steep mountain and watch your vehicle tumble down the cliff. As the vehicle rolls down rocks and rough terrain, you can see the damage building up with every impact. The body gets covered in dents, parts of the vehicle become heavily damaged, and by the time you reach the bottom, the truck can look completely destroyed. What makes this even better is how natural the physics feel. The vehicle doesn't just flip once and stop. It bounces, rolls, slides, and crashes into obstacles depending on the slope and terrain. Every accident looks slightly different, which makes crashes feel unpredictable and realistic. I found myself intentionally testing extreme hills just to see how much damage the vehicle could take. It's actually entertaining to watch the physics system react as the vehicle tumbles down the mountain. Of course, crashing isn't exactly the goal of the game, but moments like these really show off the physics engine and damage system. For a mobile off-road game, the combination of realistic vehicle physics and visible damage effects is genuinely impressive. Now, let's talk about performance. I played Off-the-Road 2 with the graphics settings pushed all the way to the maximum for around 30 minutes. At first, everything felt smooth. The visuals looked fantastic, the frame rate was stable, and the game was running exactly as expected. But after about half an hour of continuous gameplay, I started to notice the phone getting noticeably warmer. This is understandable, because the game is constantly rendering large environments, detailed vehicles, water effects, shadows, and physics calculations at the highest settings. The good news is that even though the device became warm, the gameplay remained smooth and enjoyable. I didn't experience any major lag or game-breaking performance issues during my testing. However, if you're planning to play for long sessions, you should expect your phone to generate some heat, especially during demanding situations like mountain driving, water crossings, or areas with lots of visual effects. Personally, I think it's a fair trade-off. The graphics look amazing at maximum settings, and the extra heat is simply the price you pay for getting the best visual experience possible on a mobile device. Overall, if you have a powerful phone, Off-the-Road 2 is definitely worth experiencing at its highest graphics settings. So, after spending quite a bit of time with Off-the-Road 2, what do I think about it? Honestly, I had a lot more fun than I expected. The combination of beautiful graphics, realistic vehicle physics, detailed environments, water effects, vehicle damage, and satisfying off-road driving makes the game feel much more premium than most mobile driving games. Sure, it's not a perfect game. Playing on maximum graphics for a long time can make your phone heat up, and there are still a few areas that could be improved. But overall, the experience is surprisingly enjoyable. Whether you're climbing steep mountains, crossing rivers, exploring the open world, or simply testing how much damage your vehicle can survive, there's always something fun to do. If you're a fan of off-road driving games and you enjoy realistic vehicle physics, Off-the-Road 2 is definitely worth trying. For me, I'd give Off-the-Road 2 a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's fun, visually impressive, and one of the better off-road driving experiences currently available on mobile. And that's my review of Off-the-Road 2. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.